Well, my Pyro is still one of my favorite characters. I've since changed him a little bit. That's why I'm showing the video. He's got even more skill leech on his gear, and I was able to finally get his first third mod on his armor, and I just used it to get bullet kindling. Now I could change some armor and roll some pieces to change it to something else, which I might do, because I'm wondering, do I want wide grip so his ashen bloom activates more? He gets, like, wide grip I feel like would be the next thing I want, just because it complements the AoE. He has like just decent AoE damage all over the place. I like it because he kind of slowly whittles away people with empowerment and ashen bloom, and all those things. All those damage is still okay because it's being buffed by all the debuffs too that he does. Especially in solo, he just wipes out the minor dudes a lot more quickly that way. The big reason he has empowerment is because it heals him based off skill leech, though. It's another way for him to heal. So if you follow this and my techno build, they're roughly the same. It's just this guy needs the skill leech more than my techno. My techno is going to follow the same path and be a ridiculous tank, but this guy, he's starting to become a ridiculous tank, and it's because I've been focused on, I took off resistance in his skill tree, but put on Circle of Power, and I think that balanced it out, since he pretty much always has that extra 30, so it's a little bit more resistance that way, while it allows him to get more skill leech in his tree, and then get the weapon leech buff, and then the double weapon leech buff. And then that's why I'll always have a weapon leech on his secondary, until, I get that god roll, if ever. Like, the perfect gun on him, honestly, would be like a purple LMG, with weapon leech, status power, skill leech, and death chains and omen. And then I put Claymore Torn on it, and it would be just absolute perfection. His damage would be roughly the same, and he'd be a ridiculous tank at that point. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. In the meantime, I'm just hoping to get Damascus Offering over Mythos, so I can get another status power skill leech buff on him, and that'll definitely help. But you see, like, with this and my techno, they're kind of not meant to be getting apocalyptic gear that much, because none of the legendaries really help their build. I don't use Torture on this dude, are you kidding me? Even though they buff Torture, for starters, he keeps them ashed so much that the only thing Torture they buffed on it is that now you get like 30% more anomaly damage in the Aurora, which, yeah, is okay, but I mean, he already has so much AoE coverage now, just from his gun and with Ashen Bloom and tiny cooldowns. That is not a big deal, and with the Ash so maxed out, most of the enemies are spread out a bunch constantly, so it wouldn't even help as much, honestly. But then I would lose. I guess the whole point is I wouldn't be doing that, because I'd be losing all that status power and stuff like that, but that destroys the build. Like, this guy, he needs to have, me and my techno, they're all about the status power being a tank, which means I want to try and get his max health as much as possible. But the status power is even more important than max health. They can maybe lose 1 or 2 here and there, but they want to still have high health to be that super tank with all their healing combined with it. But the status power is what makes them that super support. Because then on this Pyro, he still has great debuffs, but the cooldown and status power lets him keep those debuffs on people constantly, and lets them keep the entire battlefield just immobile. He does it better than pre-World Slayer. It's ridiculous. And and status power keeps going up. Now the thing is, enemies' resistance to status power goes up too. But that's why I know if I just keep it on him constantly, then even when he gets to like tier 40, he'll be that Pyro. Same with my techno, who actually still keeps the whole battlefield frozen and ashed better than any other Pyro or techno, and it'll be because I'm not using a legendary set. It's because I'm foregoing the extra mod slots. But yeah, it looks like he might even be able to get another skill leech, because cooldown just went up again at tier 20. So tier 26, your cooldown attribute increases again, and I was able to justify putting another skill leech on him. I have another gear piece that I could swap out later on and keep his mods and attributes the same, and just basically get another skill leech buff on his armor. And we'll see if later on you're able to do that. It seems like he might actually be able to do that if you factor in the Ascension tree buffing cooldown too. So you saw I took off max health, just go cooldown for now, just to keep at the max so I can get that extra skill leech buff, which right now, his health's high enough, he just needs, again, healing. Once his healing's maxed out, then Ascension priority will be health and then armor, because his armor is only good because of, like, he only has a damage absorber for armor, so that would be the extra thing, the final touch, and then finally I just focus on just damage after that point for his Ascension tree. But yeah, he is very good right now, and he's only going to get better. He's very good as a support build, very good tank now, and yeah, you see, the weapon leech on his secondary is still key because with Firestorm on it too. I mean, volcanic rounds I use mostly for. Well, that's not true. It spreads out burn more, so volcanic rounds helps me heal more on my primary. But right now, until I ever have the day that I actually have Weapon Leech combined with Volcanic Rounds as my primary and still have all the damage, the triple damage mods on it, until that day, then I need my secondary with like Firestorm Death Chains. I switch to that and his Weapon Leech immediately goes up to like 70% combined and the stat. And right now, until I get the Damascus offering, he also gets another status power and skill leech buff with that too. So when I switch, like if I'm on target or tar, I switch to that and I just activate it once on the dude, like he's fine. The guy's throwing his axes around, it's still not doing anything to him because he's healing as good as my Techno does at that point. That's why I learned, like, yeah, you really want to get that double weapon leech from Ash because your cooldowns are so low that he can keep it on him forever. And even if he gets silenced, like, that's still a key to have that extra weapon leech on your weapon until you can, use your skills again. He's still fine that way. And not to mention, his skill leech won't go down. So he may not have a lot of anomaly power, but I've noticed with enough skill leech combined with his really high status power, burns may not do a lot of damage for a burn build. Of course not. He's not a burn build, but they do enough damage that they can still heal him quite a lot. Heal him a little bit if it's on one dude, but heal him a lot if it's on even just a few dudes, which is most of the time thanks to his kind of volcanic rounds build.